Your next speaker is Mohit Gupta. He's a seasoned design leader with over 14 years of experience building and leading cross-functional product design teams. He's passionate about human-centered design, and he combines empathy, research, and strategy to solve complex problems and drive business growth. As Senior UX Manager at CDK Global, Mohit leads a team that is revolutionizing automotive, recreation, and heavy equipment experiences through innovation and customer-centric design. Outside of work, he enjoys hiking, traveling, theater, and reading. Please welcome your next speaker, Mohit Gupta.
Thank you, Noah. Let me share my screen. Is my screen visible, guys?
Yep, I see your screen.
All right. Thank you again, everybody, for joining. The topic which I want to talk today about is moving from screens to strategies and how UX is kind of becoming a more integral part of different organizations. So, today what we will do is we'll get into a little bit of history of UX, where we were a few years ago and where our industry is going towards, and how we can manage things. And while we are talking about it, as our speakers have spoken earlier about, right, you just don't have to be specialized in just one field, but also knowing some amount of information about different activities which are conducted in design. And I'll be picking up some practical examples where I'll be showcasing you what more you have to do rather than just creating the Figma screens or the fancy prototypes, which, we are mostly known for. And along with that, I'll also talk a little bit about industry biases as well. But before I get into that, I'm happy to share that I work for CDK Global, and I work as a senior UX manager, and I'm lucky to have a very wonderful team which supports and works along with me. Feel free to reach out and connect with me. Um, you know, uh, Having said that, let's briefly talk about agenda. And I think this presentation I've broken it into three parts, starting with a little bit of background, where we'll talk a little bit about different type of design specializations, about the growing UX industry, what is the kind of bias, the very interesting aspect of UX is not UI part of it, and then jumping into talking about strategies, trend, collaboration techniques. And that is where I'll be talking about different activities. And I was able to get a release of a statement to show you some actual real world examples, how you can build cross functional strategies, how UX can be more than just pretty fancy screens, and what how UX can drive the outcomes and shape how the you know how your particular organization is moving forward. And then there is how the future of UX we see is further than screens, and how you should be navigating through, not only as leaders but designers as well. So let's first talk a little bit about origin and times. And again, I'll not go into a lot of details, but before UX came into picture, you would have heard a lot about human factors, ergonomics, and then came the technology boom, post which we got the internet boom. And when we came to the internet boom, computers and devices and semiconductors technology was built on, we had better interfaces, we had screens in front of us. In fact, today an average human being spends around 7 hours in front of some kind of an interface, be it a desktop, tablet, or mobile. And as more and more interfaces are coming in, more and more apps, more and more websites, more and more information is coming in. And with that, what is happening? The field of UX is also growing. Of course, I'll briefly talk about other fields as well. But since I have, hugely worked in the field of software design and development, the talk would be specifically focusing towards that, but broadly connecting to the product design users as well. And now, we have come into a very unique situation, which we call agile, where we are not waiting for all the requirements to come in. We have few basic understanding about where we want to achieve, and we iterate and we improve, and you would have heard sprints and cycles. And I'm going to talk about how, in this agile, ambiguous environment, it is becoming more and more important for design to bridge the gap between product and technology to make sure that the product is moving in the right direction. As I was talking about specializations, yes, with technology advent, with growth, there's a lot of field and industries which have different specialization coming in design. And as I said, right, we'll heavily focus on UX design. I know a lot of people call it UI UX design, so I'm just adding it in front of everybody: product, game design, industrial design, visual design. So it kind of covers more of that era of product where we follow agile methodology. So before we jump into more details, now yes, we have computing, we have a lot of technology, but something for everybody to think about. Let's say there are two organizations which make two devices, device A and device B. Device A has 50 features, but only 20 of them are usable. And device B has 30 features and all 30 are usable. So just because an organization has technologically more advanced does not mean it would do better with the users. And that statement goes a long way. Just because you have too many features does not mean your product would be liked by the users. And today in industry, a lot of people think that way. So so that is one paradigm which people are shifting away from, and they are understanding more and more how usability is getting important. And with that, I would say, with the whole revolution of web, there's been a growing trend of UX and the number of UX professionals coming in. While there is a growing trend of UX people and UX professionals, but at the same time, if you will see, there has been a challenge which is about what a UX researcher will do, what a designer would do, what a UX content writer would do, and so on and so forth. But coming back to the basics, it goes back to why you are doing what you are doing, and I'll be talking about that a little bit in more detail. And again, I think previous speakers have also talked about different prototype tools, and people look at those prototype tools and they start wondering, these tools would be extremely helpful for them. And knowing these tools is knowing UX, which is completely fake. But unfortunately, our industry today has a lot of biases around that. And I would say, we as UX designers and professionals, it's our duty to make them understand that how typically UX is seen is as interface design and visual design, but what we want it to be seen. So it is becoming very important that as you do these different activities, make sure to show intermediate results of field research, gathering stats, even personas. So teams would understand, different cross-functional teams, what value and what addition you are bringing to the team. So with not much more time, like, I think, we all understand UX is getting more and more influential, but how you can make your strategic influence on different businesses. Yes, of course, prototype is one way to look at it and get through things. What I would say is, when we deliver any design, and I was talking about why we are doing what we are doing, and I'm just taking an example to show you how you should always connect an observation to a finding, to a recommendation, to a design concept. So when people think that, when as a designer or a researcher or as a UX team, you go into the field, you do study, you do observations on users, how it connects back to the design. And today people are focusing more on the output, but once they will see this whole connection, they themselves will become advocates for you. Later in slides, I'll talk about that, and how our organization in fact won an award for making sure that we are doing evidence-based designs. Second aspect is, because we were doing and understanding why we were doing what we were doing, we had a very heavy influence. And again, I'm just taking this example of a real world scenario. of a product where we have created a product roadmap with actionable insights. So you can see which products are planned, which are waiting review, which are in future considerations. So these feedbacks, as we do research and get those feedbacks, we collaborate, and we, as we have partnered with product and leadership to make sure that we at least put all those ideas in one place, or the feedback and insights in one place, from where the next item which is picked in for the product can go directly in. So UX is directly now influencing the product. So, the stats are in front of you exactly. Then we talk about feature prioritization, where we get data from the customers and clients about different ideas and how we are proceeding and working with it. So that also helps in the growing need for picking up which feature needs to be done. As UX designers, a lot of times we see, oh, this is a feature which should be done, but product or some other leadership, ELT is looking for a next shiny object. And how do we stop that? And the only way to do that is recording all the data, voting on it, and making sure that the data helps you drive those decisions. Another important aspect is, do not start any product without establishing a business model canvas. I am very sure a lot of products where people start with, they have some idea and they just start building on it. But my biggest recommendation to everybody would be finding the origins of what is the product vision, what is the success. This is a collaborative exercise which every designer should sit with every, different stakeholders, from developers to all the different teams, and make sure that the product and everybody has a common version of truth and a common understanding how they proceed from there. Same goes with establishing the journey maps. A lot of people take these for granted, and a lot of journey maps are done after the designs are done. But I would always recommend, start with the journey maps of current state, see the issues, see the problems, look at the green things where, based on the research, you get recommendations, and the red things which you have identified as problems. So you do multiple things in parallel. Not only you are doing research to identify the gaps, but you are also working towards finding the recommendations and the issues which user has today as well. So you work into this agile iterative environment consistently. Next aspect which I want to briefly touch about is the cross functional collaboration. And how you can do that is, uh, work with your leaders, work with your ELT to establish a RACI model. It is nothing but dividing the different project or different aspects of projects which you want to do. And there is a responsibility, accountability, consulting, and informed aspect of it. And you divide all these categories before you start the project, so that way you know who has to give the sign off, who has to be consulted, who has to be informed. And when you have all these categories well defined, you are moving in the right direction, knowing who is responsible for what and how that would impact the timeline of the product. Some other things which UX folks should do, and I am assuming you guys do, work very close with your product owners and developers, and do not jump to Figma, do not jump to designs right away, but do it ideations, do sketches, do multiple iterations, and that will not only get you closer to product, but it will also get you closer to users, and also help you validate and test your ideas with users as well. um, Establishing process. So, in our organization, when we started, we did not even have an established, process about. So, I'm just showing you an example about how a service appointment works, and we established this to make sure that everybody has a common knowledge and common understanding about this information, and everybody uses similar terminology. It seems very simple and very easy, but in long term, it helps a lot in using the common terminology, common language, and common communication across teams. Moving further, talking about trends, accessibility. I understand not everybody can do all forms of accessibility, but at least following some basic semantics about colors, what are good contrast, bad contrast, how things can be seen in, light theme, dark theme. uh, we follow double A standards, triple A standards would be best, but I think when you are doing the product, look at the personas which you are capturing, and based on that, maybe you want to achieve triple A as well. And this is somewhere you have to guide the team and work with them. um, then moving further, with new technology trends and other things, users are expecting things quicker and faster. So I'm just showing you an example of a product which we recently launched, and it looks like a chatbot. But what we have done is we have very closely worked with the engineers to create a system where people can get answers in a simple question. So think about, we have a product where, we make tools and softwares for dealerships in Canada and USA. So if a user just wants to know what should I do to improve my dealership, and the answer would, it would give you quick summary steps what to do next. So uh, collaborating with engineering team, and just because it's a conversational UI and it is writing about sentences, the experience is a layer deep. It's not just about screens, it's even about words, it's even about how you present that information. And then finally, coming to business growth, if you are not measuring anything, then you are not knowing if you are going good or bad. So always, 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 every product which you create should have a smart goal, as well as it should have an industry trend where you can see if after you launch your product, is it picking up? Is it growing? So this is one product which we recently launched in March, and it started picking up. So just showing you an example so you can see how the growth is happening, if your product is growing, and what decisions you have to make, what backtrack decisions you have to do. It would be really, really helpful. Uh, then finally, I would also want to talk about, uh, you know, uh, a lot of times when we do screens, yes, creating any product interface and trying to make it functional in some way, clicking on the buttons is good. Next step is doing usability studies and making sure it is usable, but taking it one level further by making it intuitive, by doing quantitative and qualitative research will make it reliable. But trust me, the day you do all of this and really empathize with your user, you'll create an aha experience which will actually bond and connect with the user. And that is the lovable product which you want to reach. And trust me, guys, when you make a lovable product, users, adoption, churn rate will go down. All of these improvements will happen. Finally, if you ask me, what is the future of UX? And we are doing screen designs, and as I was talking about moving from screens to strategies. So the strategy is very simple, yet it's very impactful. So in any organization, in any product, at any life cycle you have, you will always have things divided in these four quadrants. The known knowns, things that you are aware of and understand that you have to improve on and design. Keep doing that. But at the same time, work on your known unknowns, things that you are aware of, but you do not understand. Let's say there is a drop off or a bounce off on your website, but you do not understand why. And that's where you look into the unknown knowns about things we understand, but we are not aware of. So you have to do interviews. You may have to, look at the bounce rate. Why is this happening on this page? Look at the click trends. And as you continue to do that, you want to always move things from your unknown areas to these quadrants, to finally in the known quadrants. And as you continue to do that, you are doing a continuous product innovation, which is not only going to enhance your product, but also guide the entire direction for your product teams. And trust me, guys, once you do this, every decision is backed by some sort of research and numbers, and everybody values that, and everybody becomes a bigger advocate about UX. So I will just summarize with saying that yes, UX is no more about screens. UX is now about continuous alignment, reducing ambiguity, and problem solving. by making data-driven decisions. Again, thank you everyone, for listening. I'm happy to again share that, with our research and insights, with our studies, we have been picked up as 2025 Distinguished Luminary by user testing. This recently happened a week ago, so I'm happy to share it with you. And you can reach out to me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or now we call it as X, or you can reach me at the uxchap@gmail.com. And with that, I would say thank you, and I'll be open for questions.
Great.
I know I quickly went through a lot of things, but feel free to connect offline. I just wanted to show you raw, real examples which you can pick up and leverage in your industry right away.
Beautiful. We have one question so far. Reminder to please put questions in the Q&A box. Dira Sutar asks, how about green and sustainable UX? Have you guys worked on coming up with any such processes?
Yes. When we talk about green, I would say we have talked more about sustainable design and sustainable business. So what we do is when we work towards, a product vision or a product statement, we do think about, okay, when we are working on this product, what are its consequences, where it is moving towards. And then
Mm,
what we do is we see the after effects of the product. And then what we do is we divide this product into actors and players and the environment and system and surroundings. And then what we do is we go back, and if we start looking at system and surrounding, is it forming a complete cycle? So at
mm,
least the system is sustainable, or the product is sustainable, or the users are working towards it. I haven't had an opportunity to work more towards green. I have in the past worked for a company which was in oil and gas. I'm not gonna name. They were not exactly green, but they campaigned a lot about green. But for
yeah.
sustainability, I've worked over here in products where, just taking an example where, we have created an AI version of it, where if you take your car for service, the moment you put your model number and car and the mileage, it uses the AI to determine that in the past 2000 vehicles have been checked for brake failure at this level. So even if a technician is not going to look at it, it goes into
Mhm.
that list and shows it to the user. And because it shows it to the user, the technician gets very happy because he was able to identify you have reduced its problem, because of this known issue which he would have ignored otherwise. He becomes more sticky to that product. So you see how the
Mm,
cycle is getting connected. And good UX does exist. And if you will try to just delight your users, and I'll tell you, it's not no fancy interface. You enter those numbers and it gives you a list of things which has happened to the guy. That simple interface, but the thoughtfulness behind that has made such a great impact that people love that feature.
awesome. All right. Any other questions? Sometimes it feels like every question is sort of preemptively addressed by hearing the presentation itself. I know. Wonder if anyone has anything else. We still have a minute or two here. Any further
And
thoughts? Go
thank you, Jinshu. I saw Jinshu's in comment
ahead.
for the RACI framework. Uh, it's actually very effective. A lot of times, when if you have done designs, and a lot of times you will see, uh, I used to use the word called HIPPO, highest paid person's opinion, but and that plays a key role. But when you start your product design life cycle by putting in a racy model, you have started setting the boundaries, clear boundaries of who is accountable for what, and who is describing, and who is
Mm.
getting informed on certain things. So a lot of times, if you have ever faced the challenge of, you have a particular product and you get weird requests like change the color to blue to green or things of those nature, which often happens, because everybody thinks of themselves as a UX designers, and they'll have comments on colors and things like that. If you establish clear RACI model, not only it helps UX folks, but it helps the entire cross-functional team to establish clear boundaries, to establish clear responsibility, and make sure that everybody is staying in their lane. And with that, no tiptoeing is happening, and the best people are giving the best outcomes. So, RACI model is something which RACI model and product vision are two things
Mhm.
you should do in the very beginning of the process before you go into details.
All right. This has been excellent. Thank you so much. Please give a big round of virtual applause with the applause emote for Mohit Gupta. Thanks so much for this presentation today.
Thank you, Noah, and thank you, HFI, for organizing this. I've been hearing a wonderful set of speakers, and best of luck to the next speakers. Congrats. Thank you.